Interesting. Looks like YouTube is taking its time again tonight. Hey Mark, how's it going down in Sydney? You guys still locked down or what's happening? Hey Barry? I think this thing's still running. I'm not exactly sure what year this one is, or what board we're dealing with, but if we're really lucky it's a 3332. If we're not, it's a 163 or a 428, 426 or a 138. Yeah, it's still running. Alright, so the airbags have deployed, so that's one of the other things that's going to have to be replaced. We seem to have some liquid damage over here. I'm not wearing my glasses. Hey Jim, Mohammed and Steve. Let's see. Well, actually, I don't know if no, actually it's not liquid, it's just dispersion of the adhesive. Right. No, I think it's a 3332. It's funny, some boards you have no trouble identifying immediately, and other boards you second guess yourself everywhere. No, this is a 3787, this one. Okay. Yet another different one. So we could have VRM issues. Wouldn't be unusual. Looks like there has been some... I can see a liquid marking there. You can just make it out there. That means it's gotten up to the battery area. Hey, Optimize, Kelsey, Travis, just putting the air conditioner on, even though it is approaching 11 o'clock at night, or it is 11 o'clock at night. It's 10:30. Okay, so what's going on here? Basically, it bongs, it sort of gets started, but it never gets there. We do have a backlight, that was the interesting bit, but we do not have an image. So that was the problematic bit. So it's why I'm thinking we might be lucky enough, relatively speaking, and we might have a VRM job here. Mr. Magna. But yeah, the batteries aren't going to help. Which battery pack is this one? This is the 1494. Just put this information into the job sheet. What did I say it was? 3787. Adjusted. Alright, since we do have some sort of liquid damage that's come in, we may as well take the whole board out. And we pretty much always end up down that path anyway. Sometimes it's nice to avoid it. Does not look like that will be happening tonight. A kernel panic. Dum, 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 dum. And we did finally get our carpet today in Elita's writing office. That was quite a protracted process and not one that we're happy about. Can't say we'll ever be using that carpet place again. It was just unfortunate. Yeah, the installation itself wasn't too bad. Yeah, looks good, seems right, but unfortunately the 2.5 month wait was simply unacceptable. Yeah, one room down, many to go. A great many to go. That's all you can do, is one at a time, and well, a couple of years will be hopefully done. Certainly hopefully done sooner than by the time the original rooms start decaying again. Don't really want to be like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, where no sooner do you finish painting it, you got to go back to the start and paint it again. And for those following along with Flexboard View, that's not the right position. Finally, after all these years, I actually managed to get the rotation sorted out properly. I know it sounds a little weird, but I don't end up with so many. Oh, it's okay, ignore me. So now, if you press the rotate left or rotate right buttons on the keyboard, it will rotate around wherever your mouse pointer is. Whereas before, it basically just rotated the whole board, and if you were lucky enough, it rotated close enough to where you were looking for. But now it will actually stick to the focus point. And it's something that I should have done quite a long time ago, but it is funny that sometimes you just learn to live with certain bugs. You don't really put the time into sorting them out. And funnily enough, it wasn't actually a bug per se, it's just that I didn't add the extra logic required in the code to make it do the transposition and then rotate it and shift it back and all that sort of stuff. Mostly because due to the way the internal coordinate system is, you've actually got two. So you've got the board coordinate system and then you've got the screen coordinate system. But due to the way it's done, it wasn't a simple matter of just transpose, rotate and transpose back. There was a few other little intermediate steps that had to be done. But anyway, it's all worked out now. And that is in the latest alpha release. Hey Warren, Ratmole, Tony. Hey Byron Enver, how's it going? The other thing I finally fixed up was I stopped. It was originally a feature and now it became a hindrance, or annoyance rather. I stopped the part names going above the part when you select them. Originally, when there wasn't a lot of data on the board visible, it wasn't a problem. It kind of helped make things stand out. But as we've been loading up the amount of data that's present on the screen, that sort of behavior actually became problematic. So now when you click on the part, it just... Geez, I hope I didn't tear that. They're annoying to replace. Expensive, basically. Now it just simply highlights the part name in a different color and background, but doesn't actually put it above the part. So it's better user interface visibility. Teresa, why are you going to lose your mind soon? Oh, the lockdown, I'm guessing. Okay. No, that's fine. The battery could be playing a part in this issue, but we can't be absolutely sure at this point. Certainly the VRMs are strong candidates. Alright. We've got the typical sort of dust build up. So we'll go under the microscope, have a look. Might see something, might not. Hey Firkin. Okay, well we've definitely got problems down here. Definitely the liquid has gotten into the zone, so it may be a case of it's inhibiting the SMC lid signal. You know, basically making it so that it feels like it's got the lid shut. So yeah. Miles, do you want someone to enter diode measurements into Flexboard View? I'll be open to helping out. Don't have many working boards, but Miles, whereabouts in the world are you? Because a few of you have learned that Lewis has actually sent, or is going to send me a grant, and that I've already got things underway, and I've purchased a bunch of multimeters and leads, and I'm also making up a bunch of data capture boards as well for the keyboard interface. I've decided I'm going to go with the one-handed. I know someone else mentioned this before, but I've decided to go with the one-handed keyboard USB thing, but it will have the ability to run a lead to a foot switch as well, just a simple on-off contact foot switch. Because I figured most of the time we will clamp the ground on the meter, so we only need to use the one hand for using the probe to move around. So I've got the grant coming in from Lewis, which means I can basically just send out meters, probes, cables, and the hand keyboard interface out to people across the world, if you're willing to do a couple of boards and help out. Sydney, oh well, yep, okay. Yeah, if you're in Sydney, I'll just send you one of the packets. I mean, yeah, that's what I got the grant for, to give people this stuff. The reason why I'm sending the meter as well is because at least it's a known package that then I can help people put the data in if they need, sort of thing. Anyway, so I'm going to say that's possibly the problem there, and it's causing the machine to go to sleep, which is why I don't get CPU activity. It still doesn't quite convince me, but it's certainly a good start. Oh, and the other thing is, of course, get a license of Flexboard View if you need one too. Now, obviously, people are going to go, ooh, you know, gimme. But yeah, part of the condition is that you do have to have some working boards, and you do have to punch in a few hundred data values. You know, I'm not just going to give out freebies for nothing. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who's going to do their best to scam me, probably like Pedro or someone like that. But I'm going to essentially give you a certain edition of Flexboard View so that if you're naughty, it will Easter egg the hell out of you. Hey Vladimir. Yeah, Miles, send me an email. The ZXW transfer is also going to be useful. What board did I say this was? 3787? Yeah, I did. Yep. Yeah, Miles, it'll all help, and just consider the meter and software as a bonus, perhaps. Oh, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Alright. Naturally, Mr. I Scam You turns up right at the right time. Okay, so we've got some slightly more gnarly corrosion there. It may not be a big problem either, but let's have a look what that's actually for. It's so big that I am fully zoomed out and I still can't work out where I am on the board. Okay, 3787. Thanks, Miles. Do that. Hey, Shad. Let's see. This is the humongous coil here, and yeah, so we got, that's 5VS4 and charger. Okay, that's fine. That if that's misbehaving, if something's been done wrong there, that could explain why the battery is also puffed, but it's not guaranteed. But that essentially is part of the charging circuit. So Q7130. Yeah, PP bus supply. Alright, so we've identified two areas. We've got either a dodgy PP bus situation and or we've got a not a PM sleep, an SMC sleep situation. So we could be doing bad charging and putting ourselves to sleep. Kind of like a drunk, I guess. We'll check the other side of the board. We haven't even done that yet. Oh yeah, we actually have. Ha! Guess who's the bad drunk now? I have not been getting a lot of sleep lately, so forgive me if I seem a little iffy. My sleep pattern is just completely trashed. Like last night I went to bed at 11 and then I woke up at 2 and I watched Markiplier playing Raft or something like that until 6:30 in the morning. I got another half hour to an hour of sleep and then the carpet man turned up. Yeah, it's all over this place. It's like a shotgun of sleep. Alright, okay, so what we'll do is we will clean this up with a bit of, first we'll put the 80-20 alcohol and then we'll flux it and then we'll do the same for the other. So the board seems to mostly be trying to function and it could just be this junk is inhibiting it. Oh, and of course I've also been working on flex board view. I mean, that takes up a lot of brain juice. I think that's the problem, is when I get into coding mode, I essentially just, everything else goes out the window. Hey Michael Billman. I'll have to check the wiki site, but is the 3787 screen compatible? Which is it compatible with? The 3332 or the what do you call it? The 163, 426, 138 types. I can't remember which way it goes. I should really put that kind of information in on the open board data as well. So say if we go to schematics, what would be nice, great, it's not in this section here, damn it. Just quickly load up the 165. What would be nice is in the notes section to have sort of a screen compatibility list, to say this will work with whatever other screens, things like that. This whole notes and solutions section is something I still need to allow people to add to, but I have to find a different way of doing it because it's more than just adding a value. There's more potential for abuse of the data. So, but it'd be nice to be able to have a lot of those important tidbits located in the open board data, because people, this is what happens. You load up the board, you want to quickly have a look. It's a convenient place to put it. Or at least in my opinion. Alright, so we've given the 80-20 wash and it's done pretty good. There's a little bit more. I just need to... Looks like I need some more alcohol here. That's actually looking pretty good. I don't think I really need to touch that up too much. What I might do is simply test SMC lid and make sure it behaves as expected. But first we will fix up that other side. Hey Pionov, LCD is not compatible between 13 and 15. LCD should be compatible in 12 and 13. Right, okay, yep. Thank you, Logo Wiki. I was suspecting that, but I couldn't quite recall off the top of my head. I need to get myself another spare late model screen. They're like freaking hen's teeth today. That feels safer. That is 100% alcohol I just put on there. ASV. What happened to 765? I'm still working on that one actually. That's one of the reasons I need to get another spare display. I'm half suspecting that the cable that is in it is actually also faulty. Like, I know it was replaced, but I'm suspecting it may actually be faulty as well. I might steal one from a known working 1502 display just to test it. Because the behavior it's exhibiting at the moment just doesn't make any it probably makes sense if I fix it and then I'll go, oh yeah, that's why. But right now it's not making any sense to me, and I feel like I'm just pointlessly replacing parts on the board, and you know how I hate doing that. Sometimes it fixes things, but then half the time you don't know why you fixed it. So you have that void of experience. It's like you get no experience points for the job. Ah, got that. Yeah, that's right, Miles. Yeah, you try your best to not double up on existing work, but more often than not, it does seem to be the case where you often just have to go back and duplicate what they've done, even if they say they've done something. And it's not because you think that they're incompetent or anything like that, it's just simply a case of these jobs have a funny way of failing in that way. Pedro, we're talking about the other 19 1398 I did the other night, and I didn't solve it. Okay. Let's see how we go with this. Okay, so we get our bong. We could also have a dead key. I was about to say we could have a dead keyboard, but no, we don't. Okay. Unfortunately, this machine is now burdened with the horrible legacy of Big Sur. So, but it looks like we're booting. Hey, any 555. But this will definitely need a battery replacement. That battery is just going to get worse by the day. Yep, Miles, that's pretty much how it goes. Assume you got to start from square one. It'd be nice if you didn't have to, but it just seems to... You waste more time assuming that someone else has done something. How does the new carpet look? It actually looks really good. It suits the fact that it's an office. It's not the sort of thing I would put in a bedroom. It's perhaps a little more plush than we expected. The pile height is such that when you walk on it, you feel it shear slightly sideways as you walk, which is a little bit unnerving, considering that we're used to just walking on bare concrete or dirt. And now all of a sudden we've got this very delightful plush carpet. It seems very foreign to us. It's a dark, I wouldn't call it a navy blue, it's more like a dark steel blue. And it works very well. The biggest problem we've got now is that we've got to try and find Elita a good chair. And that's a problem because for various reasons she can't really get to Townsville, and that's where all the chairs are. And we don't really want to order a chair online because that's a $400 investment that you sit your butt in it and it might not work so well for you, you know? It's one of those things, it's like shoes and outfits and beds that you've just got to go in and try it yourself. Get her a gaming chair. Yeah, I don't think she'll like the style of the gaming chair. Personally, I don't really care much for the gaming chairs. I find them a little bit too padded and rigid. I like the ones with 5 or 6 levers on them so you can change every possible parameter. Kind of like the Linux of chairs, and then half the time you just find you go back to defaults. Alright, so keyboard's working good, so that's good. I do miss my original chair that I had when I got back to Australia for programming, when I moved to Townsville. It was $450 or so back in 2001. But that chair was fantastic. It was heavy, but it supported me, and it basically didn't give out until my leg wore through the material and started chewing up all the foam. So that's a chair I'm happy about. Okay, we don't have a microphone, and that's because I have not put it in. I just realized I haven't fully reassembled this. And we don't have a FaceTime camera because, again, I have not plugged it in. I will be honest and say this is actually repaired, except for the battery at this point. I will check about getting the battery replaced, run it through its various tests and things like that. But in the end, it would appear that most likely what was happening is that all that junk around the SMC lid area was causing the machine to think that the lid was permanently closed. In theory. You know what I should do is actually check to see if it charges. What battery we got? What was it? A 1494 was it? Hey Pro Engineer, how'd you go with your 80 Mega 32U4? I didn't end up, no, I ended up not going ahead with any of that. Instead, what I've ended up doing is producing projects that use the Tiny 45, and the first revision of the board should arrive tomorrow, I'm hoping, or Wednesday. Okay, 1494. I'll just go see if I've got a 1494 battery on hand. Normally I do, but you never know. $14.95. How freaking typical. Yep, 1437, 1495, 1496. Yeah, we do not have a 1494. I think a 1437 might work. I'm not sure. I'll have a look. No, that's a definite no on that one. That's something else entirely. No, looks like I'll have to order a couple in. I always seem to run out when I want them. Oh well. But at least the board is seemingly booting okay. I will plug the battery in, plug it in, boot it up, see if it charges properly. The other thing I'm going to do is connect up the daughter board to make sure it's not influencing anything, because these daughter boards can shut the system down. Come on, there you go. Travis, normally I go through and I just simply, I have a sort of a stock float list, kind of like a money float list, and I just simply update what I need. But every now and then I botch up. So we're just seeing if this charges. What was that? That sounded crackly. The earlier 1502 and 1398 machines now all do actually tend to suffer from crackling speakers. Just the cones on them are getting a bit old and they're just tearing. Hey, Surging Circuits, how's it going? Yeah, it did sound a bit rough, but they're actually surprisingly expensive to replace too. Hey, Catherine. Guess who didn't plug the battery in? Okay, thankfully you can do that after the fact that you've booted. Okay, so battery definitely comes up, 92%. So it should charge about 2.5. Okay, so it's doing its job, charging 2.5. Oh wow, you can't actually see that. For some reason my power supply has decided not to show up. Oh well. Anyway, you'll just have to trust me. It's charging, so I'm happy with that. Let's see, temperatures are all looking perfectly nice. Shut this thing down again. No, it wasn't even the backlight fuse on this one. It was junk on the SMC lid circuit, making the machine think that the lid was shut. Do you know one thing that this machine is needing? The hinges are sloppy on this. It's like, you can just feel it. I don't know whether it's these hinges or the internal ones? Let's see, get our T8 and see if there's any torquing up to do on them. Oh yeah, that's nice and loose. Yep. This side's fine, but that side was loosey-goosey. Okay, that's much better now. Excellent. Hey, Gavin Brown, good evening, or good midday to you. And Leslie from England. Fancy that, eh? Leslie and Gavin turn up and they're both from England. Of course, they'll be from different parts, which means they will naturally, obsessively hate each other. Probably despise each other's preferred soccer team. Oops, sorry, football team. I mean, technically, football is the correct term. Yeah, our football, we run with the ball in our hands most of the time. You gotta love that about the English type languages. I'm sure there's plenty of other ironic names out there in the world. Okay, come on. Okay. Someone post schematics of 2020 M1. Ooh, trouble is there a board view, and do we even have a board view for the 1958 yet? I'm genuinely getting concerned that we're not seeing board views for those machines. But in fairness, prior to, say, the last 2 or 3 years, we would normally sort of anticipating not to see board views and schematics for at least 2 or 3 years. So it's only recently that we're getting this expectation that we should be seeing those data files so quickly after the machines are out. Normally it's, you know, several years afterwards before we get the pleasure of having that. So we've become a little bit impatient, we have, I think. I was talking to Lewis today about trying to put together a group of people and equipment that will allow us to generate our own board views. It will be painful, slow, annoying, boring as hell. But if we have the schematic and we have a physical board, then we've got a pretty good chance of producing our own board views. But the thing is, someone has to do that work. And I figure, you know, we can pay people to do it. It wouldn't be a lot of money. Like, even if you say paid someone $5,000 to do a board view from a board and schematic, you're going to get pretty good value out of that $5,000, I think. Especially across the entire repairers industry. So you pay $5,000 once and then you got your board view, and the nice thing is it'll be mostly legal because you generated it yourself. Mostly legal. Apple may beg to differ. Alright, well that's that one. Let's see, we've got an iPad I need to get done. So I guess we'll watch in horror as I do yet another iPad. Hopefully this time I'll remember to take the film off the inside before it's too late. I really don't care to have a repeat of that last one. Pedro, essentially what's involved is, well, you know, you scan the board, obviously, the raw board with all the parts on it, and then you strip all the parts off it, and half the time you have to measure, like particularly with resistors and capacitors, you kind of have to try and work out which ones are which. Sometimes it's just going to be purely a big fat guess, because say on a decoupling bank of capacitors where you got 50 capacitors, you know, which one's which, you don't really know, so you just simply pick it arbitrarily so long as it still fits the criterion of both networks on, you know, on either side are valid, things like that. So there will be some inconsistencies between the one we would generate versus the official one, but for the purposes of the repair, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Because the other part of the problem is I'll have to write the software that will make it a bit easier to do that kind of data entry. I kind of already have in the past when we originally had there were iPhone board views out in the pads format, and the only downside was that 95% of the networks on that particular file were all like dollars net 603 generic name networks, and then you weren't really sure how it tied in with the schematic. And so I wrote a modification in Flexboard View that would allow us to go to, you'd bring up both the schematic and the board view that you had, but then it would go, okay, these are the unknown network names, and then you could go along and look at the pin names and then assign the network name based on what you would see on the schematic. So it was still a bit of a laborious process, but it was fairly quick. You could do an iPhone board in a day with that sort of thing. Yeah, Panov, the trouble is they're not letting us get access to that, so we're basically dealing with another Apple type business. So unless, I'd be fine to pay that company to have access to those board files, but they're not going to give them to us, no matter what sort of money we offer within reason. So we're going to have to do it ourselves. It's as simple as that. We're going to have to do it ourselves because we know the other players in the market aren't going to play along. Because the value proposition that they offer is dependent on the fact that they have that data locked up and no one else has access to it. It's just the way it goes. I mean, I've offered 5,000 plus US for just single board views, and I get no takers. So whoever's doing it, or whoever has control of it, must be fairly well off. And obviously they keep a surprisingly strict control on that data, because we've never really had any leaks of it. Not in any reasonable manner. Okay, I've just got to get the replacement glass for that. Well, I mean, I didn't say it's impossible with enough money. It's just more a case of they probably won't budge until the money becomes ridiculous, and that's the thing. It's you've got to weigh up your expense versus what you're getting. If they want 20,000 a board view, then it's like no. It's like for that sort of money, you can build your own enterprise that will effectively become competitors to them. And given that what we would build would be open access, so other programs like Open Board View can access it, it'll effectively will decimate part of their value proposition. So it's if we're going to get pushed down that path, then we may as well push back and simply go, well, we tried to offer some sort of deal you didn't want to play, so this is the way we're going to play it now. I mean, that's business. I just find it somewhat ironic, I don't know if that's a correct use of that word in this point, that we have these, shall we say, Western design electronics, and the ability to repair them is being constrained by an Eastern group or some other group. Look, I don't know if it is actually Eastern group, but it seemed, given that the data mostly appears to be appearing in these Chinese type products, then it's a moderate assumption. And we don't see any leaks. It's incredible the amount of files that they've got. I know how, the big lists that they've got, and not a single one of them leaks out. Well, Pilnov, the thing is, what we're proposing to do, or what we've been discussing, is essentially to generate these board views for free for everybody. That's basically what it comes down to. So we're going to go get it back to the point where we can all get access to the board views at no cost, like we do already on Badcaps. That's it. Truth Reporter, yes, I'm about to attempt to replace the glass on this. So make sure it is off. Yeah, it's off. Hopefully this won't be too bad, because it does look like it's been replaced before based on the pinch there. It just needs another minute or two over there. I'm kind of worried now that I'm touching it that I think the battery might be puffed. I hope not. I mean, if it is, that's going to be a new dilemma for me. Can we use silk screens? Not really. The trouble is that for the most part, board views are actually, they're purely description files. They're not really image files. They're just descriptions of where things are, and that's it. Well, Panov, I think with that sort of work, the initial first part is simply coming up with a process that is moderately efficient in terms of human time for generating things. And then once you've got that down pat, you can farm out most of it at a reasonable cost. I mean, some people just love doing that. New batteries. And the other thing is, of course, we really only want the top and the bottom layer for the most part. There are some scenarios where you want to dig down a little more, but for the most part of what we do, top, bottom layer, pin positions, network values, that's all we're after. It's just getting frustrating that we can't get access to the data at all. It's like, welcome to Apple II. Okay, this should be ready to go. I mean, their business is based on the idea of keeping that data because that's how they make their money. My business is based on that data being free and accessible. So, well, let's go to war and see who comes out. The nice thing is, though, that I can't find my glasses, which is a major... Oh, they're on my chest. Well, Pilnov, I mean, depends what you call a good amount of money. Sort of, I'm at the age now where I'm pretty used to a lot of people always saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And the end of the day, I found most of my success in life comes from doing what other people said, no, you can't do that, whatever. Simply because no one else does it. They just initially presume that it can't be done. Or no one wants to do it. And then when you do finally step up and start doing these things, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'll be a part of that. So I'm just still going to go ahead and do these things. I may well make plenty of mistakes on the way. I may mislead plenty of people. That's pretty good for what I'm I'm pretty good for that. Just ask my wife. But I'm going to give it a shot. I figure I've got the software base that I can turn into an editor for these sort of things to facilitate that kind of rapid data entry. And yeah, we haven't been doing this before because we've been getting lazy, and well, not lazy, but we've been able to get our board views and everything under normal circumstances. But the market now is such that board views and have legitimate value to third parties, and those third parties don't want that being shared around, but we do. Like I said, we'd be happy to pay the price. Like I said, I think 5,000 a board view, maybe even 10,000 a board view, would be tolerable to pay. But beyond that, it starts becoming more economical to do it yourself, and the upside is that you've been forced to become an enterprise that generates these things, and therefore you will effectively start eating their lunch, so you kind of win in the end. Unlike me with this tablet, I'm kind of curious as to how this is. The perimeter has been shattered, the actual plastic is shattered, so I'm not really gonna be. I've still got the heater on. Okay, it looks like they've used 3M tape on this. It's not really good stuff. Eric, yeah, I mean, no reason you can't. Okay, I think no. I think that's the other thing I have to work on, is making people realize that Flexboard View and Open Board View are not strictly, they're not for a particular brand. They're for anything that has a board view. Okay, this actually goes the other way on this one, I just realized. Fortunately, I'm not using any real force, so I didn't tear anything. Yeah, Open Board View and Flex Board View, they are generic board view programs. They will read multiple different formats. Let's crack that screen, baby. It's just that the primary focus to date has always been MacBooks and some PC laptops. But I do frequently get the question of, can your software do more than just MacBooks? And it's like, absolutely. And with formats like GenCAD, we can of course have people create their own board views for their own products. The other fight we're having is with the right to repair, is making sure we clearly explain the difference between a board view and a design file. Because what most manufacturers, shops, whatever, not shops, what most manufacturers are going to do is they're going to go along with fighting right to repair under the guise that we're asking for their design files. But we're not. We're just asking for the board views, which is simplified files. This is a train wreck under here. Yeah. And it's important to make that distinction, because if you get into a court decision situation, oh man, that Wi-Fi antenna was botched up, then the judge is naturally going to side with the company if they feel like you're asking for the design files, because that's just simply too much intellectual property that under a reasonable perspective should be protected, and I agree with it. But if you simply say I'm after a diagnostics file, then all of a sudden things are back in your favor. Yeah, that Wi-Fi antenna is, someone's really chewed that up in the past. Hopefully it still functions. Yeah, Miles, that's the other problem is, as you said, they don't technically own it. And I think this is why we're in the situation where we aren't getting access to board files anymore, because it is the design houses, as you say, who have access to it or own it, because it was just more convenient to ship it out overseas to get them to do it. So yeah, you're right. And that's why things like ZXW and the other ones that I'm not going to try and pronounce can have these files and we can't. Okay, I need to get a magnet, because remember what happened last time I didn't use a magnet? Yeah. Okay, so this damn thing's all backwards compared to what I'm used to. I'm gonna break my fingernail. Hey Jessica Ryan, good day, welcome to the channel. Now, because the battery is still connected on this, so I do need to be careful about what I use for extracting these. Okay, that's all good. Yeah, someone's basically just gone along and used bits of 3M tape by the looks of it. It's certainly not an original by the... well, I don't think it's an original. Fortunately, the battery actually looks alright. The only thing that's really messed up on this is the Wi-Fi, and I think we're lucky and it's just the ground, so it should work still. Trying to think whether I should bother. This does need fixing up. The glue needs to be taken off and new stuff applied. Now remember to cut towards the thumb to maximize the fun. Because if I bleed all over this, I'm going to be in big trouble. Yeah, it's an iPad 4. The person obviously still wants it. You know, for them, the cost of getting the screen, the glass replaced, is worth it to them, because yeah, it's got all their information. They don't have any compelling reason to upgrade, other than the fact that it might not actually work with some apps these days, but they seem to be okay with it. Okay, it's cleaned up well enough. I just have to get rid of all this tape that they've left on there. Fortunately, aside from the age-related dankness, it's in pretty good yeah, it's not too dirty. Ah, shame. YouTube didn't like 10-minute tech posting that. That's interesting. I do hate trying to remove the adhesive off this top section with the plastic, because obviously the knife does have a bit of a habit of biting into plastic a little too easy. So sometimes I err on the side of caution, leave a little bit of scrappy adhesive on there. Okay, looks like that's been torn off before as well. Yeah. In the past, whoever did this replacement, they've also torn off the metal foil next to that camera. I mean, I know these tear-offs can happen. Goodness knows. I mean, I had one in a iPad 6, I think it was, the other day, where I messed up the home button. Fortunately, I was able to repair it, but it's one of those stupid mistakes. Being tired, yeah, kind of like I am now. Hey, Jim. Hey, Keith. Just saw you there. Yeah, Luke, when did you do that? When did you fix up your iPhone 6? Not sure what I'm going to do about this Wi-Fi thing. I can't really re-screw it, so I might have to just bond it down with some Tessa tape. There's not much else I can do. Jim, how's things going with the right to repair thing? Is that all done now here in Australia, all those hearings? Or is it still going? I'm not a very good patriot, I know, but I'm sorry. I've been selfish and looking after my own stuff first. Damn it, blades just bit into the aluminium a bit. Sorry. Okay. So I wonder what's the bet on me leaving the inner protector on again this time. Hey Steve K. Hearings are finished, commission is working away. Best part was the skewering of the lobbyists. I can imagine that would have been. Were they anticipating a slightly less prepared field from the right to repair side? Or were they just simply not caring too much given that Australia is a fairly small market? The touch is successfully in. Physically, Australia is quite large, of course, but in terms of population, we're, barely the size of New York State. So we don't really tend to attract a lot of clout. As much as I wish we did. Okay, I'm just going to wash this a little bit. So once again, some 80-20. Fortunately, because it doesn't have a rubber ring around the top, I can hopefully get away with just hitting it with this. Hopefully it doesn't disintegrate from the back, because often there's glue on the back. I'm going to find out. Sonny was complaining that I have my videos too early, because he's just basically complaining from his New York centric life. So I told him to just wake up earlier. Lobbyists didn't expect commissioners to be so blunt. Some unfunded lobbyists who are pushing their crap but cop some well-researched and informed bloodletting by the commissioners. Interesting. Okay, Margarita's gone for the complex bet. This may be going for something equivalent to the trifecta. By the way, before you all freak out, yeah, I know I removed a white screen and this is a black one. I didn't have any whites left in stock, and I checked with the customer and they said, yeah, no problem, we just, because they keep it in a case anyway, so no biggie on, they don't mind, they just want it to work. Alright, for retaining that home button tang, I will in fact use Tessa tape. Let's find stuff that's decent width. Yeah, Australia is expensive. Part of the problem, or part of the reason why Australia is so expensive is because we have such an abysmal population density. And, if there's one way to make stuff cheaper is to have quite a high population density. Anyway, because of the consequence of our very spread out nature, our basic infrastructure, of course, is very expensive. Because you don't have a lot of people paying for it. You got a lot of people out in the remote areas, like even out here. Sure, we got 5 to 12,000 people out here, but we're in the middle of nowhere, and that's quite a lot of infrastructure you've got to get out here, even just power, for damn it I went in the wrong direction. There's only one direction. You watch now, it's crooked. It's okay. Could potentially be slightly better, but it is okay. Hey, Toes Tech. Yes, Tanma, exactly. Economy of scales, and yeah, we just do not have the number of taxpayers available to make that stuff cheaper. And of course, our labor rates are ridiculously high. Now I'm trying to decide if I do. Hey, what am I missing here? Did I miss a bracket or something? Because just notice this is screw down, but okay. Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I use hot glue or whether I use two-sided tape. I kind of do prefer hot glue in general. The downside is, of course, if it's a scorching hot day here in Australia, that hot glue is going to soften up and they're going to punch down on the home button and things aren't going to go so well. Sell more uranium to overseas. Yeah. I used to live up in Jabiru, which is the major uranium mine in Australia. That was back in the 80s. I even had some nice pieces of uranium oxide that were exceptionally good quality. Good clarity, good crystal structure. But someone stole it from me. And I can understand why now, because that stuff probably was quite the mineralogist wet dream. Normally, with that stuff, if you leave it out in the air, it oxidizes to a different state. It loses its beautiful green crystal-like look. It just becomes a bit duller. So we actually had it put into acrylic, and it was a stunning, stunning piece. And yeah, one day it was missing. And someone added it to their collection. Took it from ours, added it to theirs. I'm sure there would have been a bit of gamma radiation coming off that, but not a lot really. At worst it was probably just mostly alpha and a little bit of beta. Certainly not anything to be majorly concerned about. Use tester tape covered in B7000. I'm not sure if I can handle B7000 being on this. Just going to trim off some excess. Sunlight and X-ray might, most likely. Or maybe that nice bowl of bananas I've got sitting on the shelf on the granite top that's emitting its radon gas. Yeah, so I was very upset about having had that go missing. Couldn't exactly couldn't exactly call it into the police though and sort of go, hey listen, someone's taken my chunk of uranium. Not that it was uranium ore. I mean, not that it was elemental uranium or anything, but yeah. Some things you just have to accept that some lucky bastard out there got your much loved piece. Missed a question from Mike, did I? How do you get internet that fast in an area of only 12,000 people? We're lucky because we're a satellite town off the city of Townsville. And Townsville was one of the early pilot projects for the fibre to the premises NBN. And so they have a fairly strong or fairly fast hub. structure, connectivity to Townsville. And as a consequence, we also got some good connectivity. Geez, I hope I got that lined up right. Normally I mark them, but oh well. That's such a vile thing to see. Black button on white frame is nice, but white on black is not. Just something about it. Okay. Alright, at this point, my biggest concern, the difficulty at this point, apart from remembering to take the inner protective layer off, is trying to get this flex to fold in properly. Like if you look at the one that just we took off, it's severely pinched because it didn't slip in behind the frame properly. I mean, it doesn't really kill the touch sensitivity, but it does leave you with that little bit of a hump, and I don't like that. No, I don't know. I sort of get a 50-50 luck on that. Oh, we've got to stick this down as well, so. It's not going to be perfect. It is going to have probably reduced range, but short of actually pulling everything out and replacing that antenna cable. Hopefully this will do. I hate it when it won't separate. Come on, man. There we go. And then you let go of, come on. There we go. Easy does it. Bikes, cars and guns. Now you just 450. Crikey. That's only 4.5 times faster than mine. How tragic for you. Alright. The screen does not actually lend itself nicely to left-handed people. Now before we stick it down, we'll actually start it up to make sure it actually works. And please, someone do remind me to take the what do you call it, the inner protector off. Alright. Okay, Travis, have a good one. I've taken the iPad away from the view, of course, because I don't know what's going to come up. There's too many bits of trash floating around in the air from the workbench and everything like that. It's, yeah, it's not ready for me to take it off. Not until the last moments. Wow, it's taking its time to boot though. Excuse me. Well, there goes dinner. Okay. Requires a passcode. It is picking up the mobile network. Is there a way I can... Okay, touch seems to be okay. I just realised there's a magnet. Alright. Leap of faith is going to be required here. So, okay, that works. That works. Primitive way of seeing if most of the touch works. I'm pretty sure that the customer should know it. They'll be in big trouble if they don't know it. Oh, shite. Struth, mate. Nearly ruined my night's work there. Get my pretty little blanket. Make sure I don't snare the home cable, which you can't quite see, thankfully. Right, time to bolt this thing down. Alright, so this is the tricky bit that I've always found on these. Not that I've done a huge number of them, but yeah, trying to jam that touch flex to fold underneath there without actually pinching. Some sort of magical trick to it or something. Right now it doesn't actually even want to go in. That's a problem. I'm trying hard not to touch the freaking screen. Is there some sort of trick for telling what an iPhone 5 and iPhone 6 is? The 5 and the 6 are certainly very distinctly different from each other, but maybe you mean the 6 and 6S. The 6 and 6S isn't too hard, you just flip them over on the back. The 6S has the S in the box. Yeah, wait. The danger zone time now. We've actually taken the adhesive tape layers off. Oh man, this feels like it's old stock. This is kind of ASMR-ish, I guess, if I don't talk. inner one. You know what? Oh, I don't know why. Sorry about the focus issues there. I don't understand why, but they put the tab for the inner one right down the bottom corner here, where it's in fact incredibly awkward to grab it and even harder to remember it. Yeah, everyone just crapped their pants like I did then. I just noticed there's something. I made a big mistake. Big mistake. There's no plastic carrier frame on this. That's a big mistake. I was wondering why it was feeling funny. Yeah. Alright. Bugger. Yeah, there's yeah, no carrier frame. Got this plastic here. I don't even know where I can get one of those. I don't even see them sold, to be honest. No, the real problem is that, you don't normally expect to have to replace the carrier frame. Damn. Oh, I'll just make sure it functions. And then what I'll do is I'll see if I can even find one. I'll just offer it up to the person. So look, you could do it for you could do it for new carrier frame. The other one is rotted off, literally. So alright, so button works, so that's good. Excellent. The blue plate I think cost me about $70, and that was from Union Repair. But they do need to be fixed. Like when you get them, you need to take this module out. There's a couple of screws behind the Lexan front, if it is even Lexan, probably not. You have to take it out, and you need to check the soldering connections for the thermistor that runs under here, and just all the connections going to the board, because they are done with the worst possible solder. And subsequently what will happen is that it will work okay for a while, and then all of a sudden your temperature will either not shut off or it won't go up to temperature. Either way, if you're lucky, it's going to be the not go up to temperature, but more often than not, what happens is it won't shut off, and subsequently you melt to death everything that you put on there. So yeah, if you buy them, disassemble them first, fix up the fault, and then you can have a little bit more faith in the ability for them to work. Catherine, probably not. I'll talk to the chap and say to him, it's probably not going to matter, because he did take it out of the case, and the previous installation was pretty rough shot as well. So I'll have a talk to him, see what he wants to do, and then I'll see if I can find a plastic carrier, but I'm not even sure if I can. silicon seal, gaffer tape around the outside, yeah. That'll work. Silicon would be disinclined to use. Tape I would be more inclined to use. I mean, it works, so it's a good start. As always, talk to the customer, find out what they want, what they're happy with. I mean, he said, when he handed it to me, he's like, look, I don't know if you can even do anything with this, but if you can fix up the screen, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Finish setting up two-factor. Oh, okay. It is working. It just needs to have that done. And yeah, he was fine with the home button being white when it's got a black screen, things like that. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Fully assembled for driving. Yeah. Speaking on parts, what main boards, what mob have you mentioned rather before? Phone parts in Australia. Jim, most of the time I get them from EasyFix. Now I know there's probably stores that other people prefer. Yeah, no harm in that. The main reason I stick with EasyFix is because they do ship almost instantly. Like if I put in an order at say 3 o'clock, they will have that shipped and sent, so on that day. So, and it comes overnight typically with Star Trek for me. And that's not bad coming from where they are. I think they're at Sydney or Melbourne. And I'm happy with that. So I don't really have any compelling reason to shift away to another supplier. I've never really had a lot of dramas with their stock. Every now and then they will have a bad run of a particular screen or battery and something, and you just send it back to them and they sort me out. No dramas. Screen frames are in AliExpress. Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. Looks like it's be another thing I'm going to have to start buying up. It was bad enough that I had to start stocking up on the glass, but now I've got to do the plastic frames. Yeah, they're in Sydney, right? Yes. Okay. So yeah, I've had good success with them. I've been through a few other companies prior, but I've become happy with them. iNerds parts. I have seen them around before. When it comes to suppliers, you have your primary one, and then you have your fallback, your secondary or your tertiary supplier. And unless you have a compelling reason to shift away from a supplier, it's often less drama just to stick with them, even if they cost a little more. Now, easy fix as in, what's their name? Yeah, Easy PHIX is what they are. Damn you, screen. Hey, Micromage. Alright, well, that's it for me tonight. It's already past midnight, so I've got to go back and do some more coding. Not much else to say. I mean, we didn't even run the hot air or the soldering iron. I'm sorry about that. Just some nights are like that. That's the way it goes. Thank you, Jim. Yes, that's the place. Like I said, I've had no dramas with them, so I'm happy enough to keep using them until some other compelling reason shifts me away. But it's nice when you have a long-term relationship with places, and they know who you are, you know who they are, and you can sort out problems pretty quickly. So, alright, that's it for me. Well, we had one good repair and we had one dodgy repair. At least I remembered to take the film off the inside this time. Bit of a shame about the plastic carrier again missing. Maybe I could have 3D printed one, but who knows. Okay, I'm out of here. You take care. See you next time.